Today we're going to learn about simple sentence, compound sentence, and complex sentence. And so let's start with the simple sentence. And so the simple sentence, when I'm looking at creating a simple sentence, it is going to be a sentence, for example, that says students have missed school 4 weeks. So now, how do I determine if that is a simple sentence? So I need to look at it, and a simple sentence has a subject and a verb. It has a who or what did it and what did it do. And please make sure that you do understand, and I'll show you a little bit of that in just a second. You can have a compound, more than one subject. You can have more than one verb, but it still be in the exact same sentence. And I'm going to show you a way that you ask yourself the questions. It's not that I'm sentence diagramming right now, because I'm not sentence diagramming. Even though we do sentence diagram in my class, I'm not sentence diagramming. I'm trying to show you the questions you ask yourself to figure out if something is a simple sentence, if it is a compound sentence, or if you're creating a compound sentence or a complex sentence. This is the basis and is the reason we diagram, but we're not diagramming. So how do we do that? So I need to ask myself always, the very first question is who or what did it? Who or what did it? The next question I always ask myself is what did, and I'm going to put a blank here because the blank is the subject. I'm going to put an S. What did the subject do? So I'm going to ask myself those questions. Who or what? And students have missed, have missed school for weeks. Who or what did it in that sentence? The answer is students. What did the students do? Have missed. They've missed. It's not important right now that it's a helping verb. So really, if we're not diagramming, you'd probably just put miss there, but this is helping this verb because the verb of the sentence is missed. So then I look at what do they miss? School. And for weeks, we have a prepositional phrase. If we were diagramming, we would continue on to ask ourselves the next question, but we're not diagramming. So now I realize I have a subject and a verb. I'm looking to see if I have more than one subject and a verb. And again, I can go teachers and students have missed school for weeks. Here, I have two. So I have teachers and again, we're not diagramming, so I'm not going to draw that the way it should be diagrammed, but I have two things. I have teachers and I have students. So I have two subjects. That does not mean I still have a simple sentence. It does not mean I have a compound sentence because I have two subjects. I just have two subjects. They're still working with this verb. So let's go back to our students. Now, that is a simple sentence. So a simple sentence, I'm not going to put one because it can be multiple subjects. So it has a subject and verb. Now, a compound sentence. A little dyslexia there. A compound sentence, and you'll see on the screen, I already have it up, is conjunctions. And conjunctions are things that combine things. So we have several different conjunctions. The two that we're going to work with today are coordinating conjunctions and subordinating conjunctions. A coordinating conjunction is for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. And so we have our fan, boy conjunction. And a subordinating conjunction, we're going to talk about those in a minute because our coordinating conjunctions really go with our compound sentences. And so the next sentence we're going to look at is a compound sentence. And a compound sentence has two subject and verb sets. And so when I'm looking at this, we're going to take this and make this a compound sentence. So I'm going to use my coordinate. Now I'm going to use a coordinating conjunction because when you have two compound sentences, and this goes with my comma rules. If you have two independent sentences, you have to combine them with a conjunction. If you do not combine them with a conjunction and you just put a comma there, you're comma splicing. Or if you just combine them, if you have two sentences just together, capital letter and a period, then you are you're running on your sentences. So let's look at this. Students have missed school for weeks, and I'm wanting to combine two to make a compound sentence. I'm going to combine my two sentences, and teachers miss, yeah. So now I have my period here. I've learned in class that when I am combining two independent sentences, I'm going to have to use a comma, always on the left-hand side of our conjunction. So now I have my coordinated conjunction combining two independent sentences. Another way I can combine two independent sentences, this would scoot over, of course, is with a semicolon, but we are using a conjunction today. So comma, and. What sometimes I see in writing is this right here. I see one of two things. I see students have missed school for weeks. Teachers miss them. So we're not stopping there. We have to be able to identify this is one subject and verb unit together. This is another subject and verb unit together. Teachers miss them. I have to have something in between that, and here is the next most common mistake, is people want to put a comma there. Now, I have one independent sentence here, and I know that because when I ask myself the question, I get my answers this way. And I have another, so here's an independent. I have another independent sentence here. Well, how do I know that? Teachers miss them. I'm going to scoot this over. I'm going to put my comma back on how we correctly do it. And teachers miss them. I would have pulled that down here, but this is in my way. So let's look at this next one. What is our first question? Who or what did it? Teachers miss them. Who or what did it? Teachers. What did teachers do? Miss. So now I know for a fact this is also an independent sentence because it has a subject and a verb, and this is an independent sentence. Now let's look at this. I know that my definition of a compound sentence is two independent sentences, two or more, two independent. I wanting to do. So now I have two independent sentences when I'm looking at this, and I am looking at my coordinating conjunctions, but my directions on, I believe it's the 4th week, tell me I have to make a complex sentence, and that's where it's going to get hard. It's easy to make coordinating sentences, It's easy to make compound sentences. It's easy to make simple sentences. It is not so easy to make a complex sentence if you don't understand how to make a complex sentence. So now you're going to look at on the screen, the subordinating conjunctions. And right here are the subordinating conjunctions after, although, as far as if. And so if I'm thinking about that, coordinating conjunctions, here are some examples of coordinating conjunctions. I go to the park for every Sunday, for I love to watch the ducks on the lake. I watch the ducks on the lake. And, that's coordinating. I thought we're looking at subordinating. Sorry. A subordinating conjunction always introduces a dependent. Now, independent can stand on its own. Dependent cannot. So independent, in the way I remember that, and this is how I've remembered it since I was a kid. If I have independent, what does independent start with? An I. That means I got it. That means I can stand alone. But if I have dependent, it doesn't have the I. It means I depend on something. For some reason, as a child, I got independent and dependent. I could never figure out, am I independent or am I dependent? My brain would not allow me to memorize those words until One day I realized, oh, independent means I got this. Dependent means I need some help. And even though, like, for example, my teenagers who live at home, they're like, I'm independent. I got this. I do this. No, how'd you pay for that phone? Oh, you didn't? Or you did a chore to do your home? That's still not independent because your mom's giving you the money for that. If you're living in someone's home, you're a dependent. So think about that in sentence structure. This sentence right here, if I put a period right here and if I put a period right here and took this out, this sentence can stand alone. And if I took the conjunction out and put a capital letter, teachers miss them, can that stand alone? Absolutely. So that is independent. Now, dependent means it cannot. So your subordinating conjunctions are going to start your dependent. It cannot stand alone. And so we're looking at creating a complex sentence. So we are now going to create a complex sentence. So if I have to create a complex sentence, I'm going to go to my list. My teacher's given me my list right here, and you can see it on the screen. Although, before, once, that, when, whether, while, whenever, though, since, how, I'm going to make a sentence that starts with one of those words. So I'm going to say, although teachers miss students, we have to stay safe. Now look at these sentences. How do I know if I look at this and I took off, if I ask myself, I'm looking at my two sentences to ask myself the question, who or what did it, or what did, and what, not, or, and what did they do? Who or what did it? Teachers, what did they do? Miss, and to find the direct object, what did they miss? Students. I would go, wait, that stands alone. That right there stands alone. It's a subject and a verb. Miss Tyler stands alone. I don't know what you're saying. So now think about it. What if I walked up to you on the street? You're out getting a Taco Bell, and I walked up to you and I said, within 6 feet, so I walked right her, and I said, although teachers miss students, your eyebrows would go like this, right? Why? Because it is not independent. It cannot stand on its own. It is not out there living the good life, buying its own cell phone, living in its own apartment. It's not. It's if I walked up to you and said, although teachers miss students, you're going to go, what? Your eyebrows are going to go down like this, and you're going to be confused. Although teachers miss students, what? So that group of words right here cannot stand alone without the rest of this information. Now, put that aside. We're not looking at that. We have to stay safe. If I walked up to you and said, we have to stay safe, yes, you would, of course, want more information. We have to stay safe. But the sentence itself stands alone. We have to stay safe isn't making your eyebrows go down. That's just, so when we're thinking about can it stand alone or can it not, and another way that you know that it's dependent is you have to start being able to recognize, and that's why I have it on my wall in my room, a coordinating conjunction and a subordinating conjunction. You have to be able to recognize conjunctions to know what you're working with. And so that's why you have a list of conjunctions on your screen. I also had here's a bigger list. So I have my subordinating conjunction right here. I now have one independent. So so my simple sentence has one independent. My compound sentence has two independents. My complex has one independent plus a dependent. Now, when I say that, it could actually have, I could have two independents in this sentence. So I can continue on right here and go, and everyone should stay home. I realize I'm not making a list, so I'm not making a list. I am combining two independent sentences, and there's a difference in that. That's why it took me a second to come up with this. If I was making a list, then there would be, if I was making a list of two things, there would not be a comma. If I was making a list of three or more, there would be a comma, but this is not a list. Okay, so let's summarize. We have a simple sentence has a subject and a verb. A compound sentence has two independent sentences. A simple sentence has one independent sentence. A compound sentence has two independent sentences. A compound sentence, and it's just like what the word says, compound, has two independent sentences. And if you'll see the conjunction list, again, I'm recording my face, but I'm also recording my screen, it's going to have a coordinating conjunction. And so that is your compound sentences. You're going to use a coordinating conjunction when you go to create it. A complex sentence, you're going to use a subordinating conjunction when you go to create it. A complex sentence, it could have a compound sentence or two independent sentences within it, but what makes it complex, and think about the word complex, it's got different things, it's complex. And so a complex sentence is going to have at least one independent and one dependent. And how do I make a dependent sentence? How do I make a complex sentence? I'm going to use one of these subordinating conjunctions. You can also go to Google if you do not like the list that I've given you. You can go to Google and type in subordinating conjunctions, and you can find subordinating conjunctions that's going to work best with your sentence. And so when you're doing this assignment, you have to, the assignment, and I believe it's week 4, you'll scroll down and you'll see in the directions it says create one simple sentence to as you're writing your answer, make sure you create one simple sentence, one compound sentence, and one complex sentence. Those are the conjunctions you're going to use. Again, coordinating for compound and subordinating for complex. If you have any questions, you can message Ms. Sherkle or myself, and we miss you very much.